Dear Santa, all I want for Christmas this year is a good, high-speed 3D platformer, but considering how Sonic Frontiers turned out, that feels like a lot to ask for. You know what? This probably already exists. It's probably an indie game made by like one guy, and it probably came out, I'm gonna go with 4 months ago. Yep, see, I knew it. I paid $13.74 for Spark the Electric Jester 3. I then played Spark the Electric Jester 3. And I cannot believe this game is real. It's a Christmas miracle. Take one look at the Steam reviews for Spark 3 and you'll see a common sentiment echoed countless times. This is what 3D Sonic should be. This is Sonic if it was actually fun. This is Sonic if he had good controls. This is Sonic Adventure 3. As much as I pride myself on doing my best to avoid needless comparisons, and have most likely become a broken record by doing so, it's impossible for me to discuss this game in a bubble. Spark the Electric Jester 3 isn't the neon white of Metal Gear Rising-esque Sonic Adventure games, it's Spark the Electric Jester 3. But at the same time, the entire experience is so unabashedly inspired by 3D Sonic games that it's impossible to evaluate its goals without at least glancing towards the franchise it's trying to improve upon. I mean, for God's sake, Spark has a double jump, dash boost, homing attack, and can bounce off springs, blast through speed boosters, and grind on rails. I'm not gonna act like this game just accidentally came up with all that. This is a series made by one guy who started out making Sonic fan games, and then probably said something along the lines of, you know what, if the AAA industry can't figure out how to make a high-speed 3D platformer, I might as well try. And my god, did he try. The fact that Spark 3 exists, the fact that it somehow manages to encapsulate everything a fast-action 3D platformer should be, is almost unbelievable. After the trials and tribulations I've experienced in my life as a Sonic fan, Spark feels like a game ripped straight out of my nostalgia-ridden daydreams, like the jaded adult and starry-eyed child beating the shit out of each other in my brain managed to shake hands and sit down on the couch together. Sure, there's a teensy bit of recency bias at play here, but holy fuck, I can't get over how relieved I am to just play a good video game again. No Genshin Impact analysis in my stalking this holiday season. I'm on the nice list this year. I get to sing praise about an indie game. As much as I'd love to start this review by waxing poetic about a strange tangent or life-changing experience, Spark 3 is a bit simpler than that. It's just fun. At the end of the day though, that's kind of the goal of most video games. The sheer joy of reaching insane speeds and blasting through level after level brings an unmatched thrill to platforming, as each area is incredibly well designed, from its ramps and enemy placement to an overall visual style that gives the game a strong sense of personality and connects the world to the game's story. Thought experiment, which one of these levels contributes to a more cohesive aesthetic? Exhibit A, a dark, gritty city filled with signs of unrest concerning a robot uprising, complete with crowds of protesters and resistance banners. Exhibit B, Gray Volcano. Okay, not convinced? How about Exhibit A, an interstellar airport complete with rockets, scaffolding, baggage claim, and security terminals. Exhibit B, Green Hill Zone. Sure, I'll concede that Drinyan Desert is basically just Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, but I'm playing my bias card because I don't care. It's awesome. Do you know how liberating it feels to play a functional rail-focused desert level that doesn't send you plummeting to your death every 5 seconds? Spark 3 sends you soaring through colorful levels at such a blissful blink and you'll miss it pace that the main detail I want to focus on is a rather mechanical one, and it's that Spark actually controls well. There's an unmatched beauty that comes from internalizing a game's movement to the point that you can look at a faraway location and make a split-second decision on whether or not you'll make it. Platformers should make you feel like this by default, and the best ones do. So after a lifetime of Sonic feeling like a dead fish sliding across a patch of ice, I was genuinely awestruck playing a high-speed platformer where I was flying across half the map while successfully landing every single jump, rail dash, and launch I set out to. The camera stays super consistent, never cutting to cinematic angles or ripping input away to send you through a scripted set of loops. You are always in control. The overall focus on momentum might be this game's crowning achievement, as the better you are at the game, the more you can build your speed through each level. You can carry immense amounts of speed through jumps and wall runs, and launching off ramps and inclines will send you higher than a normal jump would. All these ideas seem basic at a glance, but it's just incredible to finally see them all properly implemented in a video game. I'm not often one to heavily replay levels, but the controls are just so tight and responsive that I instantly revisited almost every stage until I got the Diamond Speedrun medal for each one. The times for these medals are no joke, and often required up to 30 minutes of location scouting and restarts to design an optimal route and find cleverly placed shortcuts hidden around the sides of the main path. The rat in my brain that aced every neon white level was happy about this. The branching level design also contributes to one of the most important feelings emanating from Spark 3, which is that the creator trusted people to push this game to its limit. While I will take a few brownie points off for not including this move as an optional tutorial, the manual dash turns your movement options up to 11. If you dash before a homing attack connects, you will go flying forward with more speed than anything the game gives you on its own, and yet it doesn't feel like an awkward physics bug or design mistake. There are a bunch of diamond timers I would have never completed without the crazy skips I achieved with the manual dash, so it was really exciting to play a game that was silently encouraging me to chart my own path. I was proud of myself every time I flew past half a level, and I could tell that Spark was proud of me, giving me that little smile at the end. Spark 3's gameplay also harkens back to the adventure era of Sonic design, implementing plenty of different ways to replay each level, from speedrunning to seeking out cleverly placed exploration coins to earning high scores from collecting bits and fighting enemies. As if responding to even the slightest potential of becoming repetitive, the game also just throws whatever fucking twists it feels like at you. Opening cutscene, and boom, you're in a car. A few levels later, boom, you're fighting a giant mech boss. Spaceship segment, coin collection, beating up a bunch of robots in an elevator. Now you're fighting against another giant mech, but you're also in a giant mech this time, because why the fuck not? And as if everything I've already discussed wasn't cool enough, did I mention the game has a full-on combat system? Every move is quick and snappy as you dash around the backs of robots while throwing kicks and punches. You never feel too static or locked on to any enemy, or get trapped in long scripted attack animations. You've got a light attack and a heavy attack with a genuine combo system, allowing you to hit multiple enemies with wider chains, or stagger bosses and juggle them in midair. You can even unlock additional moves, combo extenders, and swappable combat styles from the shop. There is also actual parry timing, as in, you have to watch the enemy and time your button press, or you will just block. I'm not flat out complaining about Frontiers anymore, I'm implying it. It's called subtlety. In the story of Spark 3, nothing really happens until the very end, where you run through Nier Automata until you make it to the core of a city and meet a big robot that looks like Spark named Fark, who Spark wants to beat up, but Flint and Armstrong made an AI named Clarity that was so smart they had to make a deal with the government, but the AI still won and nothing is real. It's all been assimilated into Clarity this whole time, who looks like a funny little baby, so Spark has a panic attack and Fark fights a bunch of demons and they merge into Sparks, which is the funniest fucking name I've ever heard. But then Spark decides to sacrifice himself to integrate into the system, and Fark goes, "Suicide is the best you can think of, Spark!" And then the credits is Friday Night Funkin'. If this is the level of absurdity one guy can bring a story to, fucking imagine what they could do with a bigger team. Can you imagine if this shit had voice acting? They're already killing it with the music though. It is a Sonic-inspired platformer, so I think anyone could assume that much. The moment I completely fell in love was when they hit me with a surprise vocal theme during a boss fight. You motherfuckers really know how to get me to make a dedicated video. In short, I wholeheartedly recommend Spark the Electric Jester 3 if you have any interest in 3D platformers. And I almost feel like I'm missing something with how simple this was to write. I don't want to leave my dear viewers empty-handed outside of this sick-ass game that is absolutely worth the full $25 asking price, so perhaps you'll indulge me in a bit of reflection. I'm certainly one to appreciate the spectacle of a massive blockbuster release, but when I'm searching for things to talk about, my heart always seems to come back to indie games. As selfish as it may seem, I feel an extreme sense of joy in being able to give a helping hand, however small, to the games I think are truly worth people's time, rather than whatever has the biggest social media presence. Or maybe it's just because telling people about games they've never heard of makes me feel like I'm 2 steps away from talking someone's ear off about an obscure record in the back of a coffee shop. An idea that I often think about in the larger discussion surrounding indie games is their scale in comparison to games that have bigger teams, higher budgets, or massive advertising campaigns. While there is a certain spectacle that often comes with massive releases, I don't think that certain elements of AAA titles make them inherently better. 4K realism versus pixel art, professional voice acting versus chirpy dialogue effects, 100-hour sprawling open worlds versus a tight-knit hour-long adventure, none of these are inferior to one another. It's all dependent on the experience each game is aiming to deliver and how well it achieves its own goals. As a creator of anything, it's easy for someone to look at multi-million-dollar projects painstakingly crafted by a huge number of professional artists and feel discouraged about their own creations. But the reality is that personal output is all but limited. Spark 3 might not be redefining 3D platforming or inventing 12 new genres, but the fact that a single developer managed to make a 3D Sonic game better than the company that's been trying to do it for the past 20 years is so incredibly inspiring. Right there in the credits, this maniac listed himself as almost the entire game. What a legend! The passion poured into this game completely outshines the few technical nitpicks I can't even be bothered to waste time on, and above all else, should demonstrate that anyone who wants to make anything should just get out there and fucking do it. I can still hardly believe that for almost every minute of the 12.5 hours I spent with Spark 3, it felt like I was playing the game I've been wishing for who knows how long. It was an experience that somehow felt like how my mind remembers Sonic games when I was a kid, and yet plays a million times better than any Sonic game actually does. Incorporating exciting level designs, crazy momentum, jammin' music, and a rebellious style into an action-packed experience, all wrapped up with a cheesy, self-indulgent little bow. As the credits rolled, a single thought solidified in my mind. I can honestly say that I'm more excited for this developer's next move than I am for whatever Sonic team is cooking up next. I know that's a bold claim to make, but the very idea that Spark 4 might exist one day gets me excited, and I love being excited about something vaguely Sonic related for once, rather than treading over broken glass and hoping I make it to the unseasoned piece of chicken on the other side. I feel like this game has helped me put my own little cheesy, self-indulgent bow on these last few months, so I hope my awkward analogies and jumbled praise have done it enough justice. I'm running out of thoughts for the year. Whether you've been following me since my very first indie review on Lethal League, or just stumbled into my strange collage of content after my fateful encounter with 3D Sonic games, thank you for watching my videos, and I hope you're having a lovely holiday season. Nothing's ever replacing Sonic the Hedgehog, but I'm a little less sad about the blue blur continuing his awkward stumble, because this whole time, right under our noses, Spark the Electric Jester's been gunning it for the finish line.